And good afternoon, everybody. Of course, if you're out west, I guess it would still be good morning. But so glad that you're able to join us today to talk about this peer training program. And Kelly, if we can go ahead and move on with the slides. The first part of this session is going to be Kelly Friedlander and I. And I'm sure you'll have a chance to look at those slides a little later, and you'll have Kelly and I's picture in your portfolio forever if you keep that slide deck. Optum is part of the larger United Health Group. So if you're not familiar with the name of the company Optum, you've probably heard of United Health Group. We'll just move on here with our presentation. So get to the next slide, please. As Carly kind of talked a little bit about in her intro, peer support being a range of activities and interactions between people who share similar experiences. And it's something that's very common in the behavioral health space, but not necessarily quite as common in the IDD space, which, you know, from my perspective, in working with both populations, that didn't make a lot of sense. I thought, really, why don't we do more of that in the IDD space? And we've started to really think about that a bit more and partnered with the National Association of County Councils on Developmental Disabilities and subsequently the DD Council in North Carolina and some of our friends in Michigan to really take a deeper dive. So peer support really does inspire hope that people can live in the community successfully. You know, dispels myths about what it means to have a disability and really works to help provide self-education, help people get to the tools and links and resources they need in helping to identify goals, hopes, and dreams. Go to the next slide. As Carly mentioned, you've got 39 state Medicaid plans that reimburse peer support services with individuals with mental illness and/or substance use disorder. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services consider peer support services to be evidence-based. Some of the benefits that we've seen with peer support services: increased self-esteem and confidence. This next one I think is really important: an increased sense of control and ability of people to bring about changes in their life. And then, you know, there's always a group of bean counters that are very interested in how that impacts the bottom line. And so we have evidence that we reduce acute inpatient admissions, length of stay for inpatient, and certainly cost. So lots of benefits to peer support services that we've seen. Typically, peer support specialists are trained and certified at the state level. So whether that's a Department of Human Services or whether that's the State Medicaid agency, you know, you've been to a state, you've seen a title for a state agency, they all tend to be a little bit different. What's in common, though, is that those peer support specialists are trained and certified at the state level. And we have typically maybe an administrative rule or some other kind of regulation. We have information about service settings. So where can this peer support service be delivered? We have information about funding. We talked already about that credentialing agency. Certification requirements, which can be rather extensive, but certainly would include lived experience. You can't be a peer supporter if you don't have lived experience. Some states may require a passing score on some kind of a certification test, a certain number of hours. We see in some states they like to apply fees, participation fees, I guess thinking that if you pay a fee to have a license as a peer supporter, you'll take it more seriously. Education level sometimes a requirement, references, professional references, and then continuing education credit all go into certification requirements. As far as peer mentor training, again, we look for certain maybe competencies and curriculums, and then there's typically training involved for supervisors as well. All that kind of around that oval that you see in that diagram. So talking about peer support for folks with IDD, I had the great privilege to spend, you know, the better part of 15 years working in Ohio's Developmental Disability Service System before I came to my position at Optum. And when I got to Optum, I saw a lot of peer support services around, mental illness and especially around substance use disorders, and very little around folks with developmental disabilities. This despite the fact that in this country, we have over 7 million people that live with an intellectual and or developmental disability. And a great number of those people rely on Medicaid for their health insurance coverage. And of that group, we have a growing number now that find themselves in some form of managed care. So as I mentioned, we have some friends with us from the Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network in Michigan, and that population is in managed care in Michigan. Some of the daily challenges, and for those of you that have worked in the developmental disability system for any length of time, none of this would come as a surprise to you. We find individuals, aging caregivers for individuals with developmental disabilities. Certainly people with IDD have longer lifespans than they used to, and those natural supports, start to age. That becomes an issue and a challenge. Health and wellness. We know that the physical health care needs of those with disabilities is often higher than those without. We're seeing a growing efforts around self-advocacy, self-determination, much of that providing role models through peers. And certainly we're all aware of the great efforts that the Council on Developmental Disabilities in respective states and at the national level have played in promoting self-advocacy. Housing's an issue, and accessible housing in many communities is a significant issue for our population. Isolation and loneliness, which only could have been made much worse with the recent pandemic. Community employment is an issue and a challenge. And again, I think that's another issue and challenge that was, likely made worse with our COVID experiences. Accessible transportation. Transportation in general is an issue in many communities for all people, especially challenging for those with developmental disabilities. We see an increasing independence when we're able to introduce and utilize technology to its full effect. We have significant issues with direct service workforce. Those absolutely have been made much worse, not just directly because of the pandemic, but sometimes indirectly. The stimulus money that was distributed, the increased benefits under unemployment led some people to believe they were better off in that environment than providing direct service. And then certainly always a need for additional resources around natural supports. So where can peer support make an impact? We see 58% of those involved in peer support having more independence and a choice of where they live. Only 20% engaged in paid community employment. That's a really small number, 1 in 5. You can see at the top right, we have over 5 years average wait time for HCBS services in this country. Think about that. The average length of a car loan is 60 months or 5 years. It'll take longer than that to get HCBS on the average. So really some interesting statistics there that really point to where we think we can help. Many of you may live in a state that implements or utilizes the life course framework, where we hope to help people build and maintain a more colorful life. And we've got some data in North Carolina that would suggest that doing so helps us shift more resources to the community and helping people. And certainly that is, very important as we move forward. Not very many Medicaid-funded peer support programs in this country. You're going to hear from 2 of the 3 during our time together today. As mentioned a couple times already, we've got some folks with us from Michigan. We've got a program in Philadelphia County, Pennsylvania, and we've got some limited programs in Tennessee. That's really about it. That doesn't mean that's the only peer support programs for IDD. It means those are the ones that are Medicaid funded. We've got some folks joining us from North Carolina today. There's some programs there at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, but 50 states in this country. We see very limited examples out of 4 or 5 states. This is a movement that we want to see grow because they'll recognize peer support in behavioral health and substance use disorders in pretty much every state in the country. We think it should be that way for developmental disabilities as well. So this project, this opportunity was really an effort to increase peer mentor programs for individuals with developmental disabilities by developing and testing a peer mentor curriculum. When we talked about that and thought about that, the most natural partner for us at Optum was NACDD. We've had an excellent relationship with NACDD. Quite frankly, my entire time here at Optum, we collaborated on a self-advocacy initiative that we believe still has benefits. After talking with Donna and the team at NACDD, we started talking about, kind of the where, and identified some really good partners in North Carolina with the North Carolina DD Council and Alliance Health in Raleigh. I've had the privilege of knowing Kelly with Community Bridges for quite a number of years, and I knew about her interest and expertise in this area as well. So lots of good partners that you see on that screen, and really you're gonna have much more benefit listening to them than to me. So I've exhausted my time. I'm gonna turn things over to Kelly. Again, thank you so much for your time and attention. And Kelly, take it away.
So it's very obvious from all of that research and data that peer mentorship is something that is an emerging practice and something that people with IDD could possibly greatly benefit from. So Optum, with the project partners listed in the previous slide, decided that we wanted to try to develop a IDD peer mentorship curriculum, and then pilot that curriculum so that we could test its efficiency and also get feedback from people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So the first things Community Bridges did was we did an environmental scan to try to find other peer mentoring or peer support trainings for people with IDD. We did a nationwide environmental scan, and we ended up finding our base curriculum, the source of our curriculum, in North Carolina. We have an organization called InReach in North Carolina, and they had developed a peer mentoring training. Pat Kuehl, who actually is on this call, was instrumental in one of the primary authors of that training, and she actually created it in collaboration with individuals with IDDs. So Optum worked with InReach and Pat to secure the curriculum, and that curriculum included PowerPoint presentations, it had chapter narratives for the trainers, it had suggested activities, art activities, role-playing activities, it had pre and post quizzes for each chapter, and it was kind of a full kit that we were going to look to transform into something that could be used nationwide. So we took the lessons, there were initially 20 lessons, and we condensed them down into 12. And we have 10 lessons that we are getting ready, hopefully, to start transitioning or translating into a kind of a part 2 of the training. So we were really happy that this was created in partnership with people with IDD. And we went ahead and we worked on condensing the information and kind of streamlining it. And we were not anticipating everything having to be virtual. So of course, COVID hits, just like it hits everyone in the United States, and we had to pivot. And COVID-19 threw a major curveball. Initially, this training was supposed to happen in person over the course of 2 or 3 days. And that obviously was not going to be able to happen. So we had to do everything virtually. We had to do all of our advertising for the position virtually, all of our recruitment. People signed up, submitted their application via a Google form. They had to sign up for interviews through Sign Up Genius, and they had to complete and return all of their participant paperwork to me, either electronically or via mail. All class attendance and participation was also virtual, and all of the surveys and tests we changed into online surveys and tests for them to complete. One thing that we weren't anticipating was all the homework and activities also had to be done virtually. So that was a very fun thing for me and Pat and Matt Potter, the other trainer, to kind of figure out. So we used a combination of breakout rooms and also gave them their homework assignments in between classes. We met every week. So they do their homework assignment in between classes. And you can see here, this is one of our students, David, who they had to do a homework assignment about identifying your emotions. And this was him sharing it with the class. And it was actually, I think, really great that they did some of their homework activities between classes, because a lot of them put a lot of time and thought and effort into it. And we got to have some really great discussions about it at the beginning of each class the next week. So once the curriculum was ready, we, were partnered with the National Association of Councils, and we said we need to find a state to test this in. And luckily, the North Carolina Council on Developmental Disabilities said that they were interested in being a project partner. So the DD Council took the lead on recruiting, interviewing, and assisting in the selection of the cohort. We were looking for 15 individuals. They also assisted with accommodation needs of anybody who was in the cohort. And then they were going to work with developing the local connections and providing guidance on the ground in North Carolina to just advance this project. And as you guys are all DD councils, you understand you have to relate everything to your 5-year state plan. And luckily, this initiative fell squarely within quite a few of the goals of the North Carolina DD Council. So we set a 2-week application window, and just like any project, you're excited, but you're nervous. We were like, oh gosh, I really hope we get applicants. We did include a stipend payment for participation. We wanted all individuals who participated and provided us feedback. They were providing us value and a service, and we wanted to compensate them for it. So we paid them $15 an hour. They all received a stipend for their participation in this project. And we sent the application notice out to many of the stakeholders in the state, and we're just amazed. Within 2 weeks, we got 100 applicants. Those applicants, you can kind of see the breakdown. It was really important for us as a project to make sure that we were representative of the state. So you can kind of see here some of the demographic information that's been broken out as far as race or ethnicity, and then education level. In addition, when you looked at diagnosis information, you can kind of see from the word bubble there what stakeholder groups really passed it around strongly within themselves. And we have a very strong autism society. We also have a very strong university program here called the Carolina Institute for Developmental Disabilities, which specializes in autism. So we have a very strong and active autism advocacy population here. And in addition to filling out kind of demographic information, agreeing that they would be able to meet, we knew that these spots, not everyone was going to be able to participate, since we wanted to do it kind of very thoughtfully to get that feedback. So we had them answer some essay questions. So one of them was, why do you want to participate in this training pilot? And as you can see on the screen, there's a variety of answers. A lot of people saying they have so much to offer, that they're very independent. There were quite a few people who said, I've gone through a lot of challenges trying to get services, and I'd really like to help someone avoid that if I can, or walk them through it and realize that it gets better. Some people just said, there's a couple of self-advocates in the group who've been self-advocates in the state for a long time. And they're just like, North Carolina needs a service, and we've needed it for a really long time. And I really want to be a part of this. And we had a lot of people who had tangential experience. They worked, maybe they were like a Special Olympics peer or coach, or they were a Health Matters coach. We have quite a few post-secondary educational programs for people with IDD here in the States. We had quite a few people who'd gone through those programs and taken on leadership roles throughout those programs. So the applications we received were stellar. And it was all of a sudden, it was like, oh no, I only thought we were going to get 20 applicants and we got 100. How are we going to handle this? And here's just some more of their, and I believe, Carly, everyone's going to receive a copy of the PowerPoint, correct? Or we'll be able to share it?
Yes, we'll be able to share it.
Yes, fantastic. So I won't go ahead and read these, but we just got some really great answers as far as what people's work and life experience they felt prepared them to be a good candidate for this program. So you had people talking about their work ethic, you had people talking about their previous leadership experience, as I said before. And then just people talking about their tenacity. I don't give up. I know what I want in life, and I work hard at it, and I want to succeed at life. And they wanted to help other people do that too. So what we did was I took all the applications and took out identifying it information, and we had DD Council staff evaluate the individuals and give them scores. First, they had to meet the minimum requirements. We did have a few minimum requirements for this. First was everyone had to have an intellectual or developmental disability, self-identified. They had to be familiar with technology. We also had the requirement, because we have partnered with Alliance, and we're hoping this develops into full-time positions that are going to be Medicaid reimbursed, that we made a decision as a project team to require a high school diploma or equivalency. Got a little bit of pushback on that, but it's just where we're at right now. So the applicants were blindly scored by the DD Council staff with their names and their identifying information omitted, and then the top 20 applicants were offered interviews. So of those 20 applicants, 19 had interviews. One actually received a job offer and had to withdraw from the process, which was great for her. So what I found amazing about these interviews was this is my first time doing a virtual leadership program like this, all virtually, and with people with different types of learning differences or disabilities. And I wasn't sure exactly how smoothly this was going to operate. And we found out very quickly that these were very, very accomplished individuals who know how to use computers and are very responsible. We had 100% interview attendance. We had one individual who showed up a couple minutes late and apologized profusely. We recruited selection committee volunteers from our stakeholders within the state. We wanted other people to be involved and engaged in the selection of the individuals. So they participated in the group interview, and then they would fill out this applicant scoring sheet that you see, and they'd submit their scores electronically. So here's a little video of who was selected to give you a taste.
I want to be able to help people better navigate the system for people with disabilities. Because I know for me, trying to get services and working with the supports that are supposed to be in the community, that was so hard. So wanting to be a peer mentor, letting people like myself do that is really important to me.
The skills to become a better mentor and how to support my peers.
When you're learning or teaching individuals who have IDD, a good role model who understands their challenges can reach them more easily.
Because it's good to have resource other than your family.
So that's just a brief video showing some of the participants that were in our program. We're going to have this and a longer video up at both of these websites if you're interested in seeing it later. Now, of course, as Dan had mentioned before, it is always important to take data and to really try to track and measure progress as you're going through a program like this where you're trying to prove its value and its worth. We had pre and post tests for each lesson, which was part of the curriculum. We also conducted participant interviews. We had training observations. Myself, Pat, and Matt Potter, the trainers would meet after our sessions and kind of discuss what went well, what could be better, anyone that we might be concerned about if we felt like we needed to reach out to anyone. We also had pre and post unit surveys, which were developed by the University of Delaware, Dr. Caitlin Bailey. And we are tracking data regarding outcome employment that hopefully results from the training. So that's still in progress. And here you can kind of see an example of the assignment emails that the participants would receive weekly with kind of what they needed to take, what tests they need to take in their homework assignments. The virtual format did end up having a lot of benefits. I was absolutely floored at how engaged and in tune this group was for the 2-hour trainings that we had, but they really were. You could tell that they put a lot of effort and energy into it. And in some of their end of the session feedback they gave us, they said that they felt like this made them better candidates for work because it helped them learn to be better at virtual meetings. They were also extremely responsive about completing their assignments. We audited their assignments at multiple points throughout the program and had 95% compliance with turning in all of their tests and their homework. And the cohort actually really preferred having conversations and doing activities over lecturing, and a virtual format allows us to open different breakout rooms to try different things. So we learned that virtual format worked really well for this group. The one thing we did learn is that we needed to give a little more time. The group had a really nuanced understanding of each topic, and they really wanted to discuss things a little bit more in depth. So for the next round of this, we're hoping to have 12 classes instead of 8 so that we have significant discussion time. So the next steps for this project is we are refining the curriculum based on feedback. We have 10 outstanding lessons, which myself and Pat Huell are hopefully going to be working on to turn into a part 2 of this initiative. We are also working on developing a virtual companion manual. The original curriculum and the student and the teacher guide were meant for in-person class discussions. We're trying to develop some virtual companion documents to that so that anybody who takes this can implement it successfully within their own organization. And we're hoping to recruit and train another cohort to test the refined curriculum and just to further refine and further develop it in the fall. So really excited about this. The picture that you see here is actually a picture that was done by one of our students who is a very gifted visual artist as one of her homework assignments. So one of the questions that we got from the DD Council, which makes a lot of sense, I'm gonna have to kind of sprint through this, is this is great. It's great to get people trained, but we don't want to train people and then not have the opportunity to have them employed right afterwards. And, you know, as a project, we had to say, we understand that desire. We can't make any promises, but we can work our hardest to try to figure out positions. And you know, this is going to be this is a marathon, not a sprint. Well, fortunately, we had a partner come to the table, Alliance Health. Alliance is one of our managed care organizations here in North Carolina. They serve the Wake, Durham area, which is a large city area here in North Carolina. So they agreed that they wanted to partner with us, and they committed to hiring one of our graduates as a community health worker for a full-time position with a salary between 39 and I think 50K starting. So they're getting ready to advertise that opportunity, I think next week. And one of the only requirements will be that you have been an individual who has been through the peer mentor training program. So the group of 15 will have an opportunity to apply for and achieve that position. So the other thing that Alliance is doing is we're in the middle of kind of Medicaid transformation here in North Carolina. So they were saying, how can we really bake this idea of peer mentors and peer support into the service provision that we have? So it's not just something that's an extra, it's something that's part of the system. And what they've decided is they want to make, they have a tailored care management model, and they want the peer support worker to be part of that care management model. So hopefully somebody with IDD at the table when these care management teams are coming together to discuss individuals' goals, treatment needs, assistance needs, et cetera. So like I said, the position is community health worker. The other thing that they're doing is they're looking at our service definitions, our Medicaid service definitions here, and seeing if there are any other places where we could possibly shoehorn some of these qualified individuals into roles. One idea was possibly having them work as a direct support professional if they meet those educational and other requirements that are necessary for that. So have them meet that direct support professional role, but then be implemented within an organization, a provider organization, more in a peer support mentor role. So here's just a little excerpt from the job clip about what the community health worker will be doing. And we're really excited about this. And we'll be working with Alliance to collect data on not only what the individual's experience is in that role, but also what is their supervisor's experience? What is the organization's experience? Where did you guys have challenges? What went smoother than you thought? How could we have better prepared the peer mentor? But then also, how could we better prepare the organization for working with a peer mentor? Sorry, wrong direction. So here's just some of the other service definitions that we are looking as far as service definitions we could possibly fit peer mentors in. And the list of potential employers. So we have everywhere from, you know, day training programs, we have care management teams, then you also, you know, schools, you could group homes or ICFs. I have a conversation coming up with Money Follows the Person here in the state where they want to talk about possibly, you know, using peers and Money Follows the Person to deinstitutionalize individuals and move them into the community. And so I just want to finish off with just an acknowledgement of Pat Kuehl, who was the original author of the training curriculum and of the peer mentors who helped with that training curriculum. You can see that their names are listed on the slide. And also thank our first cohort of students, because this was a learning experience and they gave us so much fantastic feedback. And it was just really constructive and meaningful. And they showed up every week. We had 100% attendance, except for one person who had, you know, a medical thing they couldn't get out of, and just really appreciate their willingness to come to the table week in and week out and learn with us and help us learn. And I actually commissioned Brianna, who is one of our students, to draw this. And this is a Zoom, she drew this picture, but this is our Zoom window of one of our class meetings. And everyone who graduated from the cohort will be getting a print of this. So that is it for me. Carly, how do you want to, I can stop my share and you can change it, but I'll turn it back over to you, okay?
Okay, awesome. Next, I believe we have Tracy presenting. So Tracy, I've given you the power to take over the screen. So thank you for being here with us.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, good afternoon. My name is Tracy and I am with the Michigan Developmental Disabilities Council. And is Robert Spruce. He is the peer mentor specialist at Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network. So I want to start off by giving you and providing some background information on how our peer mentor program started. Around 2006, we started to explore peer mentoring for individuals with mental health, a peer support specialist program for individuals with mental health conditions. And many felt that individuals with IDD would also benefit from the service. So in 2007, we formed a peer planning committee, and the committee was made up of both professionals in the disability field, as well as individuals with lived experience. And so at that time, we began researching across the country to see what other curriculum or trainings were out there around peer mentoring for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We came across the Georgia Peer Support program through the Disability Link Georgia, and we ended up forming a partnership with them. They came to Michigan and they granted us and really tailoring it towards Michigan. So then in 2010, the committee, so we had I'm going to back up a little bit. So we developed a curriculum, we developed a training, and we approached the DD Council for financial support so that we could host a pilot training, which in that time, the training was very successful. But over the years, that helped us fine tune the training and also the curriculum. And so this is really how the peer mentor program started. And since then, we've been slowly growing and expanding and enhancing the program across the state. So we call our peer training Peer Mentoring 101. And the purpose is to train individuals with IDD to provide their peers with advocacy support that promotes self-determination, empowers peers to direct their own lives, reinforces their efforts to become better self-advocates, to make their own choices, and to develop their leadership skills. And we truly believe that this should be peer-led, peer-directed initiative. So besides myself, all of the trainers for Peer Mentoring 101 are certified peer mentors. So who is the peer mentor? A peer mentor is an individual with intellectual and developmental disabilities. It's an individual who has that personal lived experience and is willing to share their personal experiences with others, is a self-advocate, lives a self-directed, independent life, and knows how to access services and resources into the community. We don't expect our peer mentors to be experts in all areas, but they should have a pretty good understanding of community resources and know how and where to direct people to the appropriate person or place. So the role of our peer mentors, again, they really help build those bridges to people and resources in the community. Again, they provide their support through the benefit of their shared lived experiences. They help individuals take control of their own lives. They also involve that individual circle of support. So our peer mentors really work as a team, and they involve that individual's circle of support and those people who have their best interest. Our peers do not tell their peers how to live their life. They really help them make choices and help them find their own voice. They really help support them to take control. They help, our peer mentors help peers help themselves. And so our peers provide them with resources, tools, and support to help them reach their goals. And then finally, our peers work as collaborators rather than overseers. So they support that person without offering to guide them and support them to what they really want in their own life. So here is an example of our curriculum and the different areas that our curriculum entails. And so we have peer mentoring experiences, and this is where the peer mentors who are certified, they talk about their experiences. They talk about their challenges and also their successes. We have a section on defining peer mentoring. And that is, who was a peer mentor, what peer mentoring is not, the importance of active listening, the welcoming approach. We have a strong emphasis on person-centered planning and self-determination. We have a section on the language of hope. And that's really all about person-first language, building your brand and marketing yourself, taking care of yourself. You really have to be well before you're able to help support others. We have a section on our internship process, and then we give the peer mentors a chance to really role play and gain that experience in what they've learned over the 2-day training. So peer mentoring in Michigan is a Medicaid covered service, and a peer mentor's unique skills may be utilized to assist a person in reaching their individualized goals at a community mental health service provider agency. And in order for it to be a Medicaid covered service, peer mentoring has to be included in that individual's plan of service and identify one or more of the following: community integration and participation, independence, and/or productivity. And then you'll see here, these are what a peer mentor may provide. So these are the covered services. And so as you'll see here, there's a big focus on independence, helping a person reach their person-centered planning goals. We have many peers who sit in on their person-centered planning meetings with the individuals that they're mentoring and help them with arrangements that support self-direction. We also have peers that help individuals navigate the transportation systems, again, building bridges to community resources, help individuals identify recreation opportunities. They can provide information on entitlements, such as information on SSDI, SSI, helping individuals move towards independence, providing housing information, and providing vocational information to beneficiaries seeking either post-secondary education and/or training opportunities. So here in Michigan, we do have a process to become a peer mentor. And our peer mentors, they mentor others within the community mental health service system. And so in order to become a peer mentor, their local community mental health service provider agency will refer an individual to the peer mentor one-on-one training. And so we do have an application process for that. And by the referral, this guarantees that the provider agents support the peer, provide them with an internship, and that they will offer them employment once they become certified. So they refer the individual to the peer mentor one-on-one training. And then once they complete that training, they will be offered an internship. And our internships are about 90 hours in length. And that really gives the peer mentor an opportunity to practice mentoring others, to continue to gain and increase their skills before that they are certified. And so we developed a set of evaluation tools that the peer mentor is evaluated on throughout their internship. And they include a set of core competencies as well. And so once the peer completes a successful internship, then I will come in and conduct an extra interview with both the peer mentor and their supervisor. And then once that they complete the exit interview, it is my recommendation for certification. And so once they are certified, then the community mental health service provider is able to bill Medicaid for them to provide peer mentoring services. So the requirements that is included in the Medicaid language, the individual has to be 18 years and older. They have to have an intellectual or developmental disability. They have to attend the Michigan DD Council's Peer Mentor one-on-one training. They have to complete a 90-hour internship at their local community mental health provider. And then again, it is the expectation that the provider agency will hire or contract that peer mentor after they're certified. The peer mentor has to be willing to share their personal lived experiences to help guide and support others. And they have to participate in annual continuing education trainings so that they're able to maintain their skills and increase their knowledge base. So peer mentors are supported in a variety of ways, and I support them through providing technical assistance to both the peer mentors and the provider agencies. I host bi-monthly teleconference calls for both the peers and their supervisors. And these calls are really for sharing information with each other, sharing our peer mentor success stories, sharing challenges that we're facing, and then just informing them of upcoming events and trainings and educational learning opportunities. I also host an annual peer mentor retreat so that, again, we bring in guest speakers, and we offer a variety of topics so that peers, again, can increase in their skills and gain more knowledge. And then here in Michigan, we offer an annual Michigan Peer Conference, which is a conference for all peer services. So it's for peer mentors, for peer support specialists, recovery coaches, for youth peers. And this is a great opportunity for all of the peers to be able to connect and network with one another. And then we are always looking for ways to involve peers in a variety of other activities. And so we do offer additional opportunities for them to be involved with. So some of our peers, they participated in interviewing individuals for the National Core Indicators surveys. Some of our peers help their peers with supporting them and preparing them for the supports intensity scale assessments. We have some peers who have went through an oral health training so that they can provide support and just really talk about the importance of maintaining oral health and oral health hygiene. And then here in Michigan, we are a community of practice for supporting family state. And so we are really embedding charting the life course framework into the work that we do. And that also includes into our peer mentor program as well. All right. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Robert to talk about his experiences as the peer support specialist with Detroit Integrated Health Network.
Hey, how you doing? Good afternoon. Once again, thank you, Tracy. Once again, I want to say I'm honored to be here today. And for those who don't know, my name is Robert Spruce, and I am the certified peer mentor lead trainer for Detroit Integrated Health Network. I was hired to be the peer for the DNA for DVN that what we call it as an acronym. And my job is to oversee the Wayne County IDD peer mentor program. We have 3 locations where we have peers that are employed. I host monthly education opportunities for the peers where we learn certain skills such as talking about PCP, talking about gentle teaching, other programs that aim to sharpen their skills as a peer. As you know, Wayne County Wayne County has connected with the Tri-County area, which is Macomb, Oakland. And what happens is every quarter, once a quarter, they have a Tri-County Peer Connect, which is also education and network. One of my roles is to promote the peer mentoring and way. Sometimes I had to go out like doing October, which is sometimes I go out, which is March, DD month, where I talk about accomplishments of DD individuals. And also, I incorporate the peer mentoring experience and talk about how peer mentors get enhanced being an individual that I DD. I also do it in October, which is Disability Employment Month. And I also talk about peer mentoring and hoping that more providers within Wayne County that will open their doors for the opportunity to have peer mentoring to their population, which is served. Next slide. Am I okay? Like it said, now going back to what Tracy was explaining, the role as a peer. For some reason, when in Michigan, when we did the pilot, it was some misunderstanding among some of our provider networks that the social worker condition felt, should I say, threatened that peers were going to take their job. No. On the contrary, what we was always saying when the peer was to help the individual to be active in the community, to learn to give, so the peer would come from the experience point of view. Such as tell stories, tell about experience, or sometimes we as individuals need help to do things. For example, a social worker might say, well, you need your ID before, need certain items to get a task done. The peer will help. The peer possibly could help them with their items, such as I lost my ID. How do I go? Where do I go? How do I go? How do I catch the bus there? What is my transportation? So the peer kind of help the individual around with their way. And sometimes as a peer, the issue of isolation comes among people, just like any other friend. So that peer could be there to talk about a life situation where some of our individuals we say certain things to the social worker, but with peers, they more personal and direct about certain situation where could actually be a breakthrough for a breakthrough to accomplish a goal that they might have. And a peer could also inspire, such as if an individual thinking, well, I was told I never could get my apartment, get an apartment. That peer could share experience a life of how they could overcome and get whatever desired goal that the individual want. Like Tracy stated before, the peer not to rule or be a power over the individual, but to help them with their how should I wonder to make the individual understand their choices and to understand the benefit of the choices or the consequences of their choices. So therefore, sometimes individuals don't choose to do what is in their favor. However, the peers sometimes lay that up for them. That's all. I think we can talk about the employment aspect of the peer. And this is a very important item. And I think that both the individual who want to become a peer mentor and sometimes the provider that want to hire someone to be a peer, I think sometimes it's forgotten that a peer is an employer of a provider. So therefore, the peer, for a peer to be successful, but first and foremost, the peer want to be successful, which going back to my first point, the peer gotta understand his or her role is. That's my place of employment, and I should govern myself accordingly. Meaning, for example, maybe I want to be on time for work. I got a client at 10 o'clock. I can't show up at 10:30 and say, well, my bus was late. No, it's your responsibility to meet that obligation. So therefore, that's the first move. The peer must be successful. Now, with us, I need to make it quite clear on success. We are not talking about you gotta be perfect going in. We understand everybody has things to perfect or grow into a position. However, you must desire once you know better, you wanna show yourself, you wanna do better. I dealt with the responsibility. Now on our supervisor side, the supervisor, sometimes we have had situations where the supervisor himself or herself saw the peer as their client, and it more they give it a pass of not giving it 100%, or it's the baby in this. That's fine. I know you can't do that. I know you can't. So that's fine. No. We are telling the supervisor to understand the role, then expect certain things from your peer to provide a service, because at the end of the day, it's about providing a service. So a valuable service to their peer. So therefore, once again, we are back to the employer, the peer. You must value your peer. If you want our values, if you want the people that the peer is serving to value it, the peer must be valued. The employer must value the peer. And I'm gonna be straight honest with you. Sometimes value, you gotta pay you. Gotta pay you. Your peers. That's a sign of value and the respect and everything that would be variable, which make this a more successful situation. Now, work climate is going back to the front. What I said in the beginning of this whole relationship, when we rolled the pilot out, we had opposition amongst some of the clinical social workers, where the peer is going to take his or her job, which was in a way in a way I was kind of baffled, because I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it when we were thinking about the concept. But everybody needs to understand their roles. The role of the peer and not the role of the social worker or the psychologist or the nurse or doctor. Therefore, everybody has a role, and the peer is supposed to be an enhancement to the service that the provider is already providing. And if we know this in theory, and I say theory, well, not in theory, in some places, this can work out very smoothly. Now, what I want to show you on the next side is like Tracy said, we have the one that in color. I think we have 45. And Tracy, I might need you to help me out because I can't see the screen. I can't read the screen. We have 46.
Sure. So we have
61 certified peers. I can't read all the numbers because the point is kind of little. You know, I need some size here. Do you want to take that? Because I can't see. I can't see, Tracy.
Yeah, so we have 40. Sure. So we have, we've certified over the course of the program, we have certified 61 peer mentors. And currently we have 11 community mental health service provider agencies that employ or contract with peer mentors. So we do have a total of 46 provider agencies in Michigan who continue to expand and available statewide, so that our services have the benefit to have a peer help them reach their goals.
Our goals now. Thank you.
So
Now,
with that, I'm going to stop sharing.
now, and
So I know it already possible for us to share the video just a little over 5 minutes.
Tracy, do you have the video?
I do. I'm going to share it if that's okay.
you want me to lead into the video, Tracy?
Do you have it up, Robert?
Yes. Yes. Leading into the video, what you're about to see is what we explain in Wayne County. You are going to get, it's basically the Wayne County peer mentor promo. But what you are going to see is everything I've explained on how peer mentoring works. So you are going to hear the explanation, but you are going to see the visual. And what's special is you are going to see some of the peers that offer the services. I hope that came out correctly. But Tracy, you can roll the video.
So my internet connection is moving very slowly. So I'm going to try and get it going. But in the meantime, if we want to maybe open it up for questions, that would be great.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? Or if they do have questions, they can also throw it into the chat and we can all reply that way.
This is Kelly. I'd just like to kind of say one of the things that I think DD Council should, kind of think of going forward is how are DD Councils employing peers within their own organization or utilizing peers within their own organization? We know obviously that DD Council has to have self-advocacy representation, but I just think as DD Councils looking as change makers, looking at your own organization, but also your networks, like what stakeholders, what strong alliances do you have where you could maybe go to somebody and say, I think that this would benefit your organization. Can we brainstorm how we can try this? Because what we really need is we need to build kind of a body of evidence. And that's only going to happen if more organizations are willing to step up to kind of take this, this potential, risk and benefit on. So I would encourage any, DD council who's thinking about exploring this to explore. And I was floored by the amount of candidates that we had, and just really qualified candidates. And as somebody who's worked at a DD council before and worked in this field, we tend to see a lot of the same self-advocates over and over. And this application process brought out so many new individuals that I had never met before or interacted with, and a lot of really young self-advocates. And they are just on fire. And so any way that your organizations can engage, the younger, the Gen Z self-advocates, I would highly encourage, because they are ready. Pat, do you want to talk a little bit about InReach and its utilization of peer mentors, Pat?
Sure, happy to do that. Can you hear me? Okay, great. So yes, so InReach was very forward thinking in contracting to develop a peer mentor training curriculum, and they have been using peers since 2016 in various different roles, including as assistant teachers for community-based classes. They bring them into whatever committee work the organization has to do, such as the safety committee has a peer mentor sitting on it. The marketing committee has a peer mentor sitting on it. The planning committee has a peer mentor. So they're really trying to incorporate and of course the board of directors, they're trying to incorporate the peer voice in everything they do, and drawing upon the peer mentor in a paid relationship to help and support the professional staff that are doing everything from residential services to employment services. And I would also add that the peers were extremely engaged in the writing of the curriculum and suggested chapters that I hadn't thought of. Not that that's the be all end all of me or whatever, but for example, one of the chapters they felt very strongly about was a chapter on abuse and neglect and bullying. They felt it was very important to go over those things so that they would be able to be beneficial to folks if they were having that kind of a negative experience. And in many cases, the peers that helped work on the original curriculum were bringing very raw, very real stories to the table, saying this happened to me, I was a victim of assault, I was bullied at school, or, I had a roommate or a relative that had these experiences. And so they were very, very clear about wanting to be equipped to do some really very serious, cover some really serious topics and take their place on the treatment team, supporting the professionals on those serious topic discussions.
So I was able to bring up the video. Do we have time to share that?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
peer mentor is someone who has learned life strategies through their own personal experiences. A peer mentor is someone who lives a self-directed, independent life, knows how to access resources and services in the community, and is also an individual who is able to share their personal experiences and their personal stories to help somebody else meet their goals.
A peer mentor is an individual with a developmental disability who have helping that person learning to navigate community resources.
People on my caseload, and I let them know that I'm here to work for you. You get to that point.
And my peer mentor, Shayna.
Goals and achievements they wanted to accomplish in life. So I meet with them twice a week.
Try to really find the center of the individual that I'm working with and try to
Okay, I know we had some challenges with the video and the Wi-Fi because that's just how things go in Zoom meetings. But Tracy, do you have a YouTube link that we could have to watch that video on our own time? If you're still here with us.
Yes, there's there is the YouTube link, and I sure she would supply it to you. But in a nutshell, what you saw is the interaction with the peers, and the person that they are being to me, and that concept throughout the state of Michigan, same concept.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we can get that link out. Does anybody have any last questions for any of our speakers, or any more comments about the peer mentorship program? Thank you so much for that link, Tracy. The link is officially in the chat for the video that we just got to see a glimpse of. And if nobody has any more questions, I think we can head out a bit early. Our next session is at 4 o'clock, and that's our closing session. For that, you will, what was the age range of participants? I'm not sure of that. Does anybody have an answer for that?
The age range of participants that are peer mentors.
In North Carolina, we made it 18 and up with a high school diploma.
In Wayne County, in Michigan, it's 18 and up, and I want to say in Michigan we did not want to make that education is a barrier. So it's 18, but you gotta show that you are a South advocate, and we do look at what you have done in the past. So, and you need to become recommended on your provider.
Thank you, Robert and Kelly. Okay, so I'm gonna close this out. Thank you to all of our speakers. We learned so much about the peer mentorship program. I know I learned a ton. Our closing session will be at 4 o'clock, and I will be back in the main feed. So the original event link, so it won't be a Zoom. So I hope to see you guys all there, and thank you so much for attending the Zoom.
Hi, Tracy, Vincent.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for
Hi.
joining.
Sorry I was late. I was joined late.
No problem. I'll
Okay.
see you soon.
Yeah.
All right, goodbye.
Bye-bye.